So spring has sprung, and one of my favorite things to see around is a cherry blossom in bloom. But I just can't wait for that. So I'm going to show you how to construct your very own cherry blossom in your home. So let's get started. You'll need paper, butterfly pins, or split pins sometimes they're called. You can have some paint and masking tape if you want, if you're going to make a full tree, but today we're just going to make a branch. So we're going to make the branch. So I'm going to repurpose some old branches I found outside. Okay, and if you want, you can make a trunk out of cardboard and you can build it up and stick different branches on it, but I'm going to just do this with the branch, right? So next, let's put some blossom on our branches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut layers of flowers and a few leaves. So I'm going to pick 3 different shades of pink because the cherry blossoms are usually pink or white. And with that, I'm going to carefully trace out a little flower and then I'm going to cut it out. So let's see. So I'm going to do something like this. And don't worry, so I'm only going to do 4 petals and I'm going to keep this together and I'm going to cut all 3 at the same time. It saves me having to do everyone individually. And don't worry, because I'm only doing 4 petals, but that's because they're all going to overlap. And remember, if you're using a scissors, to ask somebody at home to keep an eye or to help you. Now, okay. So I have my little blossom flower made. So look, I have a dark pink, a lighter pink, and then the lightest pink. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pierce them with a butterfly clip, right? So if it doesn't go through, you can just use a little scissors and give a little snip. But generally, if you just wait and try your very best, it usually pierces through itself, okay? So it's like the pollen in the flower, and what you can do then is kind of fold it up or over like that to make it look slightly closed. And then I'm going to do a lovely leaf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some green paper. I'm going to fold it over like so. And I'm going to cut a leaf, but I'm going to make sure that I don't disconnect the fold. So just like so. Do you see what I did? And then open it up and you have a leaf. And let's put that through the butterfly pin too. And then I open my butterfly pin, or my split pin as it's called. Look, I opened up my split pin and that kind of fastens the flower too. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to pop it onto my branch. So I'm going to, because the split pins are very malleable, you can move them around and change them and fix them. So I'm going to connect that onto my branch. And look, there I have my first cherry blossom bloom of the year done. Cherry blossoms, or sakura as they're known in Japanese, are cherry trees. Prunus cerulata, and they're blossoms. The fruit comes from a different species, so some people call them cherry blossoms, but they're actually, you wouldn't get cherries from these. So cherry trees are a symbol of spring for Japanese people. And the word sakura can also be used as a name for women. So it's not lovely. So sakura means women or cherry blossom tree. So the traditional custom of hanami, or flower viewing, involves visiting places where sakura are blooming. Japanese people love cherry blossoms, but they aren't actually the national flower in Japan. Most of the flowers are white or pink with 5 petals, but there are some flowers with almost 100 petals, so they'd only actually have 5 petals on them. Hana Hubuki means a scene where the cherry petals are scattered like snow. So have you ever seen that, when the cherry blossoms are coming to the end and they're all over the ground? They're just beautiful. So that's what it's called. Cherry blossoms and leaves are edible actually, and both are used as food ingredients in Japan. Most Japanese schools and public buildings have cherry blossom trees outside of them. So since the fiscal, so business and school year both begin in April, so in Ireland, our school year begins in September, but in Japan, it actually starts in April. In many parts of Honshu, the first day of work or school coincides with the cherry blossom season. So that's how you know in Japan it's time to go to school, is when the cherry blossoms start blooming, which is just such a lovely thing to think about. So I'm going to get cracking and we're going to make some more blossoms on our cherry tree. So remember, I have this layered up, and what I'm actually going to do to make life easier is I'm going to try not to waste paper as well. So I'm trying to draw them as close to the edge as I can. And I'm going to, and kind of as close to each other as I can. And they don't all have to be the same size, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do a line of them here. So I'm going to cut this out. So that means that I can do more than one at a time. Okay. That's one flower done. I'll keep going. Another flower done. I'll pop this one back in where it was. And it doesn't matter even if your pattern falls out, because we're layering up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, again, I'm going to do what I did before. So I'm going to cut some leaves, but I'm not going to cut the fold because I want to be able to stick them onto my butterfly pins. Now, so I have 3 leaves done there. So these are all my little bitty papers. So I'm going to again take a butterfly pin or a split pin. I'm switching the lightest color over because I don't want to see my pencil markings, and I'm kind of layering them so that I can see a glimpse of each of the colors here. I press, and I'm going to try not to keep my finger underneath it because if they're sharp at all, it can kind of hurt. So just slowly press through, and then you press through the little leaf again. There we are. Open her up. Open her up like that, fold them in slightly so they kind of come to life a bit. And then I'm going to pop them on a branch for myself. And they kind of, you can just pull them and they kind of hook on to whatever you're trying to make them hook onto, right? So there's another cherry blossom. Let's keep going. Now, push through, oops, push through. And this is something that I sometimes do in my classroom, is that we would make a tree out of cardboard, and we'd make it actually go up as far as the ceiling here. And then what we do is we would get branches in from outside and stick them into the cardboard trunk. And sometimes you'd have to have string kind of holding the branches up a bit if they get heavy. And then in my school, the students then would make the little cherry blossoms and stick them on as we went. Now, there's another one. So if you don't have butterfly pins at home, what you could do actually is you could pierce a little hole here, and if you get some wool or some string and tie a good few knots in it to make it knot, and then pull it through so that the knot pulls through, kind of like if you were sewing, or you could sew it actually is a good idea, and then you could tie the string at the back if you don't have butterfly pins. You can get butterfly pins very easily, but if you don't have butterfly pins, see the hole that I've made? What I would do is that I would just put a bit of string, or you could do 2 holes like a button, string it through, and then tie the string onto the tree, and it's the exact same thing. I just like using the butterfly pins. I like the little glimpse of gold. Now, so let's make a few more. A few more. So like I was saying, cherry blossoms are really popular in Japan and really revered, so much so that the rugby team in Japan are actually called the Cherry Blossoms, which is a lovely name as well. Now, let's keep going. I'm gonna do a few more blossoms. Okay, so, and like I said, you can make them white, you can make them any color that you want. The pink ones are the traditional, so pink and white are traditional, but if you're not a fan of pink, you can do other colors. You could do purples, you could do light blues that look really nice as well. Now, okay, so we're nearly done now. Oopsie daisy, I'm gonna open this up. Pop one up here. Poke it through, and then I'm going to add one more on up the top here. Here I have my beautiful cherry blossom made. So picnicking beneath cherry blossom trees is a Japanese tradition. So why don't you make a beautiful picnic underneath your cherry blossom tree? Sayonara, Slán!